Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Vampires. In this video we shall be studying Clan Gangrel, the clan of beasts, the clan of animals, the clan of hunters, the clan of nomads. The Gangrel are ostensibly part of the Camarilla in these final nights, although you would be hard-pressed these nights to find out why exactly, for the Gangrel are a clan apart. Very much so. They do not involve themselves in the Machiavellian schemes of the Ventru, the Toreador, the Tremere, or the Bruja, nearly so much as those other clans, and, indeed, when you examine the Gangrel closely, and the way their clan is structured, or not, as the case may be, the way that a kindred of Clan Gangrel will hold himself apart from all other kindred in a city, it is very difficult to see exactly why this feral clan aligns itself with such a rigid, stiff, starched, august sect such as the Camarilla. Still, we will examine their history, and the Gangrel, much like any other clan, will trace its history back to Enoch and before, in some cases. Some Gangrel will claim that their founder was a great creature by the name of Enoia, half of God, Mother Earth, for all intents and purposes. As far as the Garou would be concerned, she would be Gaia, or the Wilds perhaps. But the point is, the Gangrel hold their heritage as quite lofty, but they don't necessarily believe all of the myths and legends. Far from it. The Gangrel are great for telling stories among their number, and they are not so foolhardy or so dedicated to some heritage that may or may not be true that they blind themselves with it as the Tremere might or the Bruja might. Now, the Gangrel enjoy their legends, and in their legends, Enoia was a vampire fiercely independent. A being fiercely independent, occasionally finding herself aligned with the wolves, those bestial creatures that dwelled in the wilderness. Now, while some vampires would have you believe that the Gangrel similarly hold a close relationship with werewolves, with Garou, again you would be hard-pressed to actually find a Gangrel to admit that he or she had ever had any kind of cordial relationship with a Garou. Most Garou would rip a Gangrel's head off as quickly as look at him, for the Gangrel are as worm-tainted as any other clan, and yet there are rumours that say that if a Gangrel is humane enough, or has enough of the wild about him, that the Garou may accept him into their fold, or otherwise allow him to go freely without harassment. Still, these are rumours, and I would not suggest ever putting it to the test, for the Garou are known for their ferocious appetites and rather vile tempers. The Gangrel throughout history have a reputation for embracing warlords, fearsome leaders, as well as fearsome followers. For while the Ventru had the fiefdoms of the Black Cross, and the Zemisi had their great stony castles and towers in the east, and the Toreador had the courts of love, where did the Gangrel have their bases? Well, many Gangrel dwell among the Vikings, for that kind of pillage, that kind of war was in their blood. The idea of raiding a location, of hunting folk down, feeding from them, and then moving on to the next target, was so purely Gangrel, from heritage as well as just innate instinct and desire, drive. The Gangrel are always compelled to move, to hit and to move. And maybe this is why there are also rumours that the Mongols, led by Genghis Khan when they arrived in Europe, also had Gangrel among their number, although not necessarily members of Clan Gangrel at its purest. These vampires were of a bloodline known as the Anda. The Anda, well, a bloodline that dwelt purely among the Mongols of Genghis Khan. they were not around for many centuries beyond the Great Khan's invasion. And this is something to note about the Gangrel, for they are ever changing. They are often moving around. They have spawned possibly more bloodlines than any other clan in history, and yet those bloodlines often have very short fuses. They burn brightly, but once they have burnt out, they are never seen again. And so you witness bloodlines among the legions of Attila the Hun. You witness bloodlines among the Crusaders of Charlemagne, among the Mongols of Genghis Khan, among the Vikings, and so on. The Gangrel crop up over and over again. Never a solidified clan, never a unified force. And again, I point you towards the fact that they are fiercely independent, as individuals as well as a clan separate from all other clans. That does not to say the Gangrel cannot make alliances. While they may find it more difficult to trust other members of other clans than, let's say, a Ventru or Toreador who may wish to manipulate you and therefore will give you a little in return, the Gangrel have found themselves often in bed with the Malkavians and Nosferatu, again throughout history. Why is this? Well, the Gangrel's weakness is one that manifests quite openly. All clans are cursed by Cain, of course, and the Gangrel are so cursed that whenever they frenzy, whenever they give in to that beast within, that beast that often rises to the fore, for few clans court their beast so openly as Clan Gangrel, they adopt animalistic features. Now, while this may sound humorous to those that have seen the odd Gangrel with the features of a less ferocious animal, the Gangrel with a snout like a dog, with eyes like a cat, with skin like a snake, with feet like the talons of a bird of prey, or with feathers running down his back, with a mane like a lion, or with teeth like a shark. Know that a Gangrel is not to be mocked for his deformity. For not only does a Gangrel's deformity mark him as something other than human, a Gangrel's deformity marks him as one who is very much in touch with his beast and on the precipice of letting that beast out again. Very few wish to approach a Gangrel whose snout is upturned and whose brow is constantly furrowed and sloping, for they know that that Gangrel has lost control at least twice before. And you do not want to be around when the Gangrel loses control again, for there are few predators among the kindred world more deadly than the Gangrel. The Gangrel are hunters, pure and simple. They are predators. Their discipline of Protean allows them to not only take the form of animals, it gives them the claws of a werewolf. It can allow them to turn gaseous. They can turn into fog itself. Many of the myths of vampires, many of the legends of vampires, the tales stem from tales of Gangrel, because few clans are as widespread as the Gangrel, and the Gangrel are not prone to hiding. The Gangrel can be quite proud of their bestial existence, of their bestial abilities. And so that leads clans to trust them not at all. The Gangrel also find number among the Sabbat, of course. The city Gangrel and country Gangrel, they delineate themselves as such, for the city Gangrel are urban stalkers with a different range of disciplines to the standard Gangrel, and the country Gangrel are nearly as ferocious, if not more so, as a black spiral dancer werewolf would be. They are truly horrific creatures, true monsters in a very real sense. Scarier than any inbred family from a Wes Craven film. If you tread upon Gangrel, country Gangrel territory, then you are as good as dead, but don't be mistaken into thinking that country Gangrel would show you any mercy in hunting you and killing you swiftly, for they like to play with their food, very much indeed. In recent nights, the Gangrel have been drifting away from the Camarilla. Now, why did they align with the Camarilla in the first place? Supposedly at the Convention of Thorns, when the Camarilla and the Anarchs decided to go their separate ways, and the Anarchs eventually, those that were not so timid, let's say, to align with the Camarilla, they joined with the Sabbat. The Gangrel were left with a choice. While the Ventru, the Toreador, the Tremere and the Bruja, even the Malkavians and Nosferatu, their allegiances were set almost as soon as they arrived. Each of those clans had a history of elders abusing their childer, elders sending their childer off to do inconvenient and dangerous tasks in their stead, and this is how Anarchs were risen among all of those clans. The Gangrel had no such problem, for a Gangrel's relationship with his child is less adversarial. True, there will be a tough love to it, there will certainly be harsh initiations to go through, but there is always reward, and a Gangrel is raised to be independent and to be free-thinking. And so when the Anarchs leapt up and started committing wanton diablerie, it seemed more honourable, more true to the Gangrel's spirit, to align with the Camarilla. For the Gangrel have never been in favour of diablerie. Clan-wide, going all the way back into their heritage, they have never favoured diablerie. They have, through all of their assorted myths and legends, seen it as a great impurity. And with the Anarchs practising this, left, right and centre, the Camarilla, while being far from perfect, was the best option. Sure, the Gangrel did not agree in the slightest with their ideals of covering up the truth of the Antediluvians, and they did not necessarily agree with the elder manipulation of neonates that the Camarilla were so fond of doing. And yet, it was a better alternative than going Anarch permanently or joining the Sabbat. The Gangrel, being so in touch with their beasts, are quite familiar with what can be lost by giving in to their beast. So with that being the case, why would a Gangrel join the Sabbat unless they were truly deranged? And as I say, these nights the Gangrel find themselves moving apart from the Camarilla. Perhaps it is because they are more in touch with the earth and its movements, more in touch with their elders and their lineages, truly, than any other clan. While the Ventru may well recite their bloodline all the way back to Vedartha, the Giovanni may well still know his great-grandsire, and the Tremere can tell you who taught his grandsire thaumaturgy. It is the Gangrel who share the tales of their clans, both fair and foul. And so when they feel something moving within the earth, something that feels like a Gangrel, smells like a Gangrel, and has the power of a Gangrel, they know that there is something within the earth, moving, draining creatures of their blood, something immensely powerful, something that the Camarilla never told them about. And the Gangrel know that it is time to return to their mother, time to return to the pack, and set out on their own, forge their own path, become the apex predators that they have always meant to be. For, as far as many in the Gangrel are concerned, Enoia, their clan founder, has awoken. She is very, very hungry, and the Gangrel do not wish to be on the wrong side of her. Thank you very much for watching.